Okay, if you don't know me already, my name is Cody, and I'm going to be pitching a reevaluation for BEMIS and Company. The current price today was $46.68, I believe, and the target price with my model that I created was $49.75, which would put that down to about like a 7% increase over a 4-year period. So what I'm going to be going over is the timeline from which we purchased the stock until today. And then I'm going to get into the operations of the company and the breakdown, some historical events that affected the company in the past, and then a little bit on management and some new innovations that BEMIS has been coming up with, and what they plan to do in the future and their expectations. And then I'll get deep into the financials with key statistics, comparables, valuations, and then I'll end with my recommendation. So to start off, BEMIS and Company, we bought about a little over 4 years ago. The share price then was $32.56, and since then we've gotten about a 41% return on it. Overall, it's been underperforming the S&P throughout the entire life of which we've had it, for the most part anyway. And then it's been kind of in line with the ETF. They've had, never mind, I'll get into the reasons why there are fluctuations later, but basically, like, for a fund that we are, I mean, it hasn't really been performing the way we wanted it to, so that's why I've been bringing up this reval. To get deep into the operations, BEMIS is a packaging company. They create, hold on one second, I'm sorry. They create multi-polymers and brown cast film structures to produce packaging services for many different industries. So they have like automotive, personal care, pharmaceuticals, electronics, food industry, basically almost anything under the sun. They produce products for that industry, and they have a wider range for those. And some of the examples you can see right here, they create containers and film-based packaging, such as the yogurt, and also they create little condiment packets and things like that, so anything liquid-based as well. And some of their newer innovations are the tight plastic wrap around the cans, as you can see on the top or the bottom right. And also they do like dog food and other sustainable preservation packaging like that. The BEMIS actually has a lot of suppliers, which is good for them because they're very diversified. Some of the big ones you can see on here is P&G, Kraft, Coca-Cola, and Tyson's, which are some of their biggest suppliers. And the greatest part about BEMIS is that they don't have 10% of sales within a certain customer. So if one customer were to kind of move away and move towards another supplier, then the company overall in the long run wouldn't be hardly affected, or difficultly bound, I guess I should say, because they're just well diversified and they make sure that they don't position towards one specific company. As a company breakdown, they run in 2 different segments as of currently. Last August of 2014, it used to be 3. I'll get into that here in a second. But the U.S. packaging is 66% of their net sales, and the global packaging is about 34%. Even though global packaging is 34%, they still have 56% of that in North America. They also provide for Latin America, Europe, and Asia Pacific, and they are looking to expand their operations deep into the Asia Pacific, which I'll explain to you a little bit later. To get deeper into these segment descriptions, they have 32 manufacturing plants within the United States segment, and only 33 worldwide. So you'd think if you're supplying to a larger population that they'd have a lot more manufacturing plants, but they've actually been slowly trying to integrate further into that segment. So I'll talk about them when we get that to management, but they've been trying to press harder currently to really invest into that segment. So they're working towards getting into there. They're 75% of their I guess focus is in the meat and cheese segment. Recently they've been divesting out of a lot of other segments to focus on this because they want to be the industry leader for this specific sub-segment under the food segment. So they've been trying to figure out a lot of different innovations for preserving foods and creating stylish packaging for meats and cheeses. So they're very heavily weighted in meats and cheeses, and then globally they're actually more focused on medical and pharmaceuticals. The third segment used to be the pressure-sensitive materials segment, which used to help create materials for, used to help create the medical and pharmaceutical materials for the U.S. segment, but they divested from it because the operating costs were way too high and the company wasn't doing well with them, so they divested out of it. Basically what they did was they created adhesive materials to help with their pharmaceutical packaging things, but the operating costs were just way too high to match the sales, and so they just had to divest out of it. It was only 10% of the company at the time, so it didn't hurt them too badly, but that was the third company that they were, or the third segment that they had. Some of the historical effects, some of the historical events that they've had in recently were the consolidation of 9 plants. So they felt like they were too spread out within the United States, and to lower, to increase efficiency and to lower their overhead, they decided to consolidate because they felt like they were too spread out, and they wanted to make sure that their efficiency was increased before they started spreading factories all over around. So that was done in 2011. 2012 was when they really started to expand in Asia Pacific. It's been continuing since then. They have a lot of deals within China, which I'll get into a lot later. They have a lot of high expectations for what China may hold for consumer consumption for these food products that they're packaging for. So that's where they get their sales from. So that's what they're kind of hoping for, is high consumption. And that was in 2012. 2013, they acquired their film-based aseptic and bulk packaging, which really helped innovate their new liquid packaging segments. So like for snack packs, it helps preserve the tops a little more, and it's actually 20% less waste, so it's more environmentally friendly. So that was what they acquired from that in 2013. To skip around, in 2014 they divested, like I said, from their pressure-sensitive materials and also from their paper packaging and gauge shrink film, just solely because it was just too expensive and they weren't gaining much net sales from that segment, so they just kind of had to delete it out of their range. And then within the past 5 years, they've been repurchasing a large amount of common shares, except for 2012, which they were only focusing on mergers and acquisition transactions, so they didn't repurchase any. But in 2013, they repurchased 2 million common shares, and then in the fourth quarter of just last period, they repurchased 3.8 million, which is why what's been affecting their stock price, I believe. The huge influx right now is only because I think supply and demand, where less shares, I mean the stock price is going to go up a little bit just because of that. But I couldn't figure out the reasoning exactly why behind they just kept repurchasing. They didn't go into too much detail. I mean, it's just been a common trend from year to year for the past 5 years, other than 2012. So that's just been their buyback program. To get a little bit into management, as you can see here, everyone seems pretty fresh, even though, everyone seems pretty fresh. It may look a little staggering, but actually most of these people have been in the company for over 10 years. Henry Theisen stepped down as CEO last August to take the position as chairman of the board, and then William Austin came in. He's been working for BEMIS for 14 years. He started out as the president and CEO of MACTAC, which is the abbreviation for the pressure-sensitive materials segment. I don't know why, it doesn't really make any sense, but he was president of them, and then before they got rid of that segment, he actually moved to COO of the overall company, and then they ended up divesting out of there. But I believe also, aside from the fact that they've been repurchasing shares, I think the market also sees that William has a lot of great innovative ideas, especially with his consistent strive to get into the China market and overall global market. He wants to really press that just because it's not really comparable to the U.S. market, and they believe that they have more of an opportunity abroad, not more, but like they have opportunity to grasp abroad and that they're not really taking advantage of right now. So they really want to keep pressing for that. And then everyone else, I mean, not too much to report on them. So some of the new innovations that they've been coming up with, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, but at the at the bottom right, you will see their latest and greatest invention of a microwavable sandwich packaging. So they actually got a gold and silver achievement award for flexible packaging for inventing things like this. And the gold achievement award was from Packaging Excellence. So that came from this, where they were the first company to ever invent a sealed packaging for sandwiches like this that could be preserved and keep freshness, and then also keep moisture out while it's being microwaved, and to be able to just microwave it within a plastic without the microwave exploding was their recent innovation. And then they also, for the middle, you can see the dog food there. I don't know if it was just this specific dog food or if it was a lot of pet food all around, but this one had a lot of problems with moisture containment, and the dog food really didn't last very long, so they went to BEMIS, and BEMIS created a packaging for them that helped last the product a lot longer, which was good, and increased its overall shelf life. At the top left, you can see we have the snack packs and the jellies and other condiments that they've been working on. It's their new leaning into their segment of flexible packaging. So as you can see, the bottom of the container is flexible, and like I said, it's 20% less weight and waste, so it's more environmentally friendly, which is what they're looking for. And they've been working with their new film base to increase shelf life and also waste. At the top right, you can see that the Hawaiian Punch cans, basically what they've been doing is trying to limit the amount of waste that they've been using to package these things, and also to be able to keep it stable as well. So what they did was they created a tight seal plastic around it while keeping the cardboard underneath, so it's 100% recyclable, and it keeps it all stable while you're trying to carry them onto your car and whatnot. And then finally, the bottom left is what they're really getting into with their flexible packaging segment that they're trying to really push for globally and US-wise. Basically, it's they're trying to move away from any sort of unappealing packaging, but also any sort of glass and metalware for any sort of product. But basically what this example shows you is how slick the design can be for flexible packaging, and also gives you a chance to feel what the product is inside. So before BEMIS has been creating this, old packages were either unappealing to customers and they really just overlooked the product as a whole, or they really didn't get a feel for what's inside the product. So what they've been trying to do was tailor for the product instead of around the product. So they started creating plastic flexible ware like this for things like memory foam, which is what that shows. You can feel what's inside without having to open it up and whatnot. So for expectations, BEMIS has a slide deck that they've been coming out with year after year for the past 3 years that I've seen so far, and they come out with what the company's been doing and what they see for expectations. And it's funny because in my growth model for my revenue in my Excel sheet, you saw that I had 6%, and they've actually had that 6% revenue growth in there for the past 2 years, and yet we haven't seen that because it's been declining ever since 2011. So it's been in there for a while, but they still keep expecting it, hopefully to try and make bank on their global integration. But basically what they're trying to focus on here in the future is the global healthcare sector for packaging in the US and worldwide. So they're just trying to get more of a grasp on that. And then also their flexible packaging for their meat and cheese segment, because they want to continue to be the leader in that, because they just want to make sure that they're leading that, and then also move into the other segments afterwards. I'll get into the competition here later, but it's pretty tight, so they want to be able to keep at least one segment to themselves before they keep moving on. They believe that there's going to be a growing demand for flexible packaging just because they want to overtake metals and glass, just because they're not environmentally friendly, people don't like them, they're heavy, and I mean, if you think about it, carrying your groceries out to the car, you could save yourself a couple pounds and make it easier for yourself. But it's also more appealing to customers and makes them want to buy it more just because they see that, oh, this company, they're taking an environmental step to kind of preserve the earth kind of thing. So that's what BEMIS is doing. And then back to my old point where they expect to see rapid growth in China. In their report, they put their 14 expected CAGR on consumption, and also I think it was about 4 to 5% growth in income population. So they see a lot of expected growth for people who are going to be buying certain food products and things that BEMIS packages for. So they want to try and get into that segment as fast as possible and be able to capitalize on this growth. But this was also in the past slide deck as well, and they haven't experienced anything substantial since then. So it's kind of up in the air, but they just keep trying to pump up their company, but it doesn't look like it's actually performing as what they want to. So to get into more of the key statistics, they have a $4.5 billion market cap, and comparably, it's about like right in the mix. If you look on Yahoo Finance, they only have like these two companies, but in the next slide, you'll see that like there's excuse me, a lot more competitors that they don't involve in Yahoo Finance. I don't know why, but basically like they're right in the center of the pack, and they have a lot higher. Well, not I'm sorry. They have a higher PE than the industry as an average, and also the competitors. So you're paying more for their earnings, and also the ROC, ROA, and ROIC have all been declining since 2012, and it's just interesting because like there's no explanation for it. As for like they predict so much growth, and yet it's not performing as what they expect to. So maybe they're just trying to keep expecting, and then hopefully it'll happen sometime soon. I'm not sure, but as of right now, it's just not meeting expectations. As you can see here, there are all the companies that are the main competitors for them, and 3M Co is actually in there as well, even though they're in the industrials sector. But Sealed Air Corps and also Packaging Corporation of America are their biggest competitors, and they have all been beating them. They've been both beating BEMIS in like price per earnings and market cap as well. So there's definitely room for us to put the funding that we have in BEMIS if we need to, if we want to exit this investment. And then here's even more further explanation of how BEMIS has been performing comparatively to its competitors. I mean, I didn't include the ETF in here, but you have Packaging Corporation of America is the purple line at the top, and then the pink one is Sealed Air, and they've just been killing it the past couple years, and they're in the same segment, and I don't know why BEMIS hasn't been capitalizing on it as well, but they're just lagging there at the bottom, even with the Yahoo competitors as well. So overall, they're just not performing as well as they should be. And then with my model, I projected to be about $49.75, given a 6% revenue growth and also a $185 million capex, just because they want to be able to have that money there available for any growth opportunities to spend in case they want to start expanding. Which, I mean, we'll see how that goes. But even when I increased the growth rate to 7.5%, it still didn't go up very much. It only went up to like $55, and so. And then I talked to one of the analysts in here who said that my model was, the balance sheet was actually supposed to only see the snapshot of the fourth quarter when I added up all the cells instead. So I just took the snapshot of the fourth quarter, and it still only turned out to be about $52. So not much fluctuation there. But and then here again, my recommendation basically after all I've said is that I think we should work on divesting, if not, well, I think we should completely exit the BEMIS position that we have now, just because they haven't been meeting their expectations for revenue growth. The industry is, in my opinion, becoming a little saturated, just because, I mean, they're selling the same products and they have been year over year, and they think with higher economic growth that people will be more inclined to buy products in the stores. But when you think of it intuitively, I think of people wanting to go out more because they have more money to spend, so they would want to go out to a restaurant or something. So why would they put their money, I mean, obviously they might buy a little bit more groceries and things like that that might help BEMIS out, but overall I think it's not going to affect them in the long run. I think the industry is pretty saturated there. The only thing that's helping them is their dividends, and this is pretty much for the older people who invest in them, who look for the low income. For our weighting, we only get about a little under $30 a year from their dividends, which isn't very substantial. Their PE is over the industry, and their PS is right in line, if not a little over the industry. So overall, I think we should definitely exit our position in BEMIS, just because they haven't been performing well, and they haven't been meeting their expectations of their growth rates, and the company overall seems very stable with a slow growth rate, but it won't meet our expectations as a fund when we want to produce alpha and beat the benchmark, when clearly they haven't been, I mean, in the past 2 years. So with that, I guess I'll take any questions you may have.